Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026. I hereby call the Election and Campaigns Finance Subcommittee to order. Clerk, open the roll. Everybody vote if you're here. Please, clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Chairman, you have 6 members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Do any members have any personal orders before we begin? Any singing, dancing? And Representative Powell is here. Seeing none, today we have one resolution on our calendar. I believe it is sponsored by a famous backbencher, HJR 0729 by Majority Leader William Lamberth. Tell us about your resolution. We have a motion and second on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, this actually passed previously. It got all the way to finance, and unfortunately, I didn't make the cut like a lot of us didn't for the current gubernatorial election this year. So they're, I try to limit it to, I think, 3 constitutional amendments per ballot, just so the ballot doesn't get so long. And so I respect that. But this one got left on the cutting room floor. It is very simple. It just moves the elections that are out there now that would go May, August to August, November, except for the assessor. And we were having a conversation beforehand. The assessors are special. Talk to your assessor. They know they're special. But it is about the timing of when those assessments have to be done, apparently, where they have to stay on a different schedule from everybody else, so that their assessments are done in time for the tax rate to be set, and we're not able to move their elections. But for all the other county offices, so your district attorney, your public defender, your judges, your mayor, everything else, your county commissions, it would literally save money for the state of Tennessee and would result in higher turnout. Because folks get pretty weary when they've got 3 elections in one year. When they have the May, the August, and November, I don't know about y'all, but a lot of times I'll get questions from my constituents. Well, like, wait a minute, which ballot are you on? I mean, which one is this one? And so if we just line it up to August and November, then it just works better. So it would be a constitutional amendment that would go on the 2030 ballot. And if it were approved, it would kick in on 2032 and 2034.
Let me ask you, I got 2 personal questions that verify for people watching. Number one, why do the assessors and what is the election of the actual assessor had to do with the reassessments? Because the staff does it. Can't that be regardless of who the assessor is?
It can, but the assessor is elected to lead that process. And so while it is in all offices that I know of that work effectively, it is a very staff-led process. But there is always somebody that is elected by the people to oversee that. And so you can get changes in technology. You can get changes in the assessment protocols on how you challenge some of those assessments. And that is set by the person that is elected to do that. So it is a still very important role. And so to switch horses in midstream would be too difficult for them.
Second question is, why can't we just change the timing of the assessment to match it so that they don't have to have the primary in May?
You definitely could do that. And there are those that have tried. Those bills have not been successful in the past. If one were at some point, then it would make a lot of sense to go ahead and move the assessment with the others. But this was drafted in the world that we live in currently. And that assessment time period is what it is right now.
Are you afraid that if we have your amendment and it's adapted, which it probably would be, would we have to have a new amendment if we ever did do that?
It would be a mess. Yeah, it would. I mean, this is just simple and straightforward with the way it is set now. And we could always change it down the road if something like that were to shift.
Okay. Any questions? I've got a question, Representative Powell.
Thank you. And Leader, so would you still have to have this? You still would have a cost for that the assessor election, right?
Yes.
Yep. So the way those are right now, from my understanding, and please check with the assessors. I've never run for assessor, never going to, but I believe they line up with the presidential primary. And so that actually carries them through, and you have members that are kind of nodding their head like this on here. That's the schedule that they land on.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. And my other question is, my concern is with ballot fatigue. These are going to be very lengthy ballots, and I already hear from people that want to limit the number of things that can appear on a ballot because they say it's just so difficult. And they like the fact that they have this other setup where they can go in and it's clear and it's a little bit more straightforward. So My two concerns here, if you will address these, is not only the ballot fatigue, but also how this might tend to make things even more partisan with some of these different elections. So if you could address those two things, but those are my main concerns and why I'm not comfortable with this resolution.
Leader?
Yeah, I mean, elections by and large are partisan. I mean, folks run under a party that they are nominated under, and minus some of the municipal elections, we have partisan races in this state like most do. And so that's not a bad thing in itself. That's, you know, folks that are identifying with a particular political party and then running under the mantle of that, but they still have to run and encourage folks and gain the trust and votes of their voters. That's just the way it is. And so I don't know of anybody who's ever filed a bill down here to make every single race in the state of Tennessee nonpartisan. Welcome to carry that. Might have missed the deadline this year, but still, I mean, maybe down the road. So races are many times partisan. But when you have a primary that's in May, and this to your point about how it can become kind of ultra partisan, in a lot of counties, if you have a primary in May, and then the general election for those May primary winners is during a different primary in August, it becomes hyper partisan. So instead of folks going in and say they want to vote in the general election for whatever local official, they're still asked to choose a primary in August right now. And you want to talk about ballot fatigue and confusion. You may have folks that say, no, wait a minute, I'm just here to vote for my local judge. I'm not interested in voting for a primary for fill in the blank, whatever state or federal office. I just want to vote in the local, a race. And there's ways to do that. But it becomes extremely confusing because you have these layers of races that are going on at the same time with a general and a primary. So if we just move everything to the August, November, the ballots are a little longer in November, but it is absolutely proven that you have much higher turnout. A lot of our municipals and city elections have gone to the November elections for that reason. I'm one of those folks that believes the higher the turnout, the more people that vote, the better elected officials we get, regardless of who wins, because they have the trust of more people within that community. Low turnout elections just are not a good thing. So this is to try to help drive that turnout even higher.
Representative Powell?
Oh, one last thing on ballot fatigue is, and I'm sure you're aware of this, but it's fall off voters, right? It's voters that they vote for president, they might vote for Senate, governor, and then they're, I'm sure your people know you and they vote for you, but after that, they lose kind of steam and they don't know the people and they start, I guess my concern is we're going to continue to see even more drop-off voters with this. People are not going to be as educated or as have the ability and time to focus on these, candidates for these offices below federal and state. And so you might just see even a large ballot drop off when it comes to this being implemented. And happy to respond to that, but that is another fear of mine is we're going to see drop off voters.
Leader Lambert?
Again, that's on the individual candidates. I mean, so we have local candidates sometimes that are extraordinarily popular folks that are running for sheriff or local mayor, and they're well known in their communities. And quite frankly, sometimes they drive the ballot. I mean, regardless of who's running for state rep or senator or president, even that local candidate may be the one that people are really turning out for. And that's a good thing. But that really comes down to the quality of the candidates that are running. And so when you see a lot of drop off in the ballot, it's usually because you have races that are on the ballot with candidates that have not gotten out there and really put in that hard work to make sure that when somebody walks into that ballot box, they're not just punching R or D, they're voting for Rush Bricken because they know him. They're going in specifically to vote for him. And that keeps that fall off from actually happening. And that's a good thing. But there's no way to argue that this doesn't decrease the amount of money that is spent on elections and increase the turnout. It's just a matter of knowing that we still need those high impact, highly knowledgeable voters that go in and know who they're going to vote for. But that's up to the candidates to get out the message.
Representative Bricken?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I'm lit. Leader, I was trying to understand the assessor, property assessor. If the property assessor runs and it's a partisan competitive race, would they still have the option or would it be required to have a May primary vote for the assessor?
Leader Lambert?
You would have a primary, and I'm trying real hard not to look at Chairman Moon right now because he knows a lot about local elections. But if you have a primary, it would be lined up with usually that presidential primary, is my understanding. And that can vary depending upon when a state decides to set those. I know that's constantly being discussed, but at the very latest, yes, it would be a May primary and an August general election just for the assessors. But I think at times that's as early as a February or a March primary.
Representative Birkin.
Follow up. The laws are, I can't remember if we passed anything last year. I mean, the parties could just caucus for their assessor, but did we put requirements for no caucus? For
I
those?
believe Representative Lee's bill last year, Lee Reeves, it was that no party can call a caucus or a convention unless they already use that system.
So for counties that require voting primaries, they would be locked into having a May primary. Is that?
Leader Lambert.
If they call for a primary. So, I mean, with assessors and two, we were talking about earlier, as far as partisan races, nonpartisan, everything else, the primary would only be for those counties that choose to call a primary. And for instance, if say you have a very popular assessor that is running again, assessors kind of like being an old school tax collector back in the Bible. Those folks sometimes are not the most popular person in your county. I respect them. I think they do a really good job, but it's a tough gig. You don't have a lot of people that want to be assessor. And we've got a good one. He does a fine job, but again, it's a tough spot. So say you had an assessor that was running, everybody was comfortable that at least they were fair and doing a good job, and nobody's running against them. Well, in that particular county, you may not even call for a primary. They may just have the general. So it doesn't necessarily lock you into that unless they call for it.
Any other questions on the bill? Seeing none. With, unless there's objection, we'll be voting on the bill, HJR 0729. Please open the board for voting. Please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 6 ayes and 1 no.
Bill passes on to state and local full
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee's member.
or resolution. Let's see. And with that, we have 22 more bill. I'm just kidding. We started way earlier than we normally do. So the bills are light right now, waiting to start piling up. But we had to run that emergency bill last week. And that will be in state and local tomorrow, I believe. But otherwise, we are finished with the business. That's all that's on the calendar today. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? So move. Here, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion to adjourn passes.